In this week's episode, we talk about recruitment processes, we talk about handling debt, and we ask the question, are you more like Cain or more like Abel? Hey, and welcome to episode 27 of Business Greenhouse TV. It feels excellent to be back in the saddle after, I think, 4 weeks off from doing the show. I wanted to give the summits my absolute 100% attention, and so we did that. You know, we had such a good time. We had just on 1,000 entrepreneurs across 3 cities, Sydney, Perth, and Gold Coast. And the testimonials have been fantastic. You know, we had people that had breakthrough in the practical marketing, people that had breakthrough in their mindset, people that had spiritual breakthrough. And, you know, that's just so rewarding to do that and to put that on, to see that process. And yeah, so super pumped. I've got a group that are going to come with me for the next 12 months, and we're going to work on their business and we're going to grow it and roll our sleeves up and make them more profitable. So all in all, it's been a very, very, very productive month for us. But I want to get back into the show, keep bringing the value, keep bringing the training and getting this out to you every single week. And so Michelle is taking some well-deserved annual leave. So today we actually have Paul asking our questions. So why don't we get straight into it? Paul, what is our first question?
Tom Moore asks, when hiring a tradie, what should we look for or what should we ask? What should an interview look like when we're looking for our A-team?
Tom Moore, Right Link Electrical, running electrical contracting business, kind of North Brisbane, Southern Sunshine Coast area, doing both electrical and solar. So what should it look like? Well, employing a tradie, I guess in essence is the same as employing any role in any business. You know, I think the reason why a lot of hires go wrong is not so much what to look for, but there's no process behind it. So of course, you're looking for somebody that can do the job. That's the given. That's the bit that you know how to spot. You know if a tradie can, you know, do the right work. I'm always looking to hire on attitude. I want somebody who is willing to go the extra mile, who wants to start early and finish late without adding that to their timesheet. I want somebody who will happily, you know, get in and do a job they're not paid to do because it's part of the team to move the business forward. I want somebody that speaks clearly, edifies other people and brings life to the conversation. That's the stuff I'm looking for. If I'm just hiring because somebody's good but their attitude stinks, it's only a matter of time before that goes bad, okay? Now you could say, well, that's ministry, you know, I take them in and I call that ministry. Well, that's one way, but that usually doesn't work because you're not making enough money to be a ministry for long enough. So I just reckon that you've got to find the attitude. Like, it's a given that they should be able to do the job. After that, you've got to find the right person. Here's the way most people recruit when it comes to recruiting. You know, they need a new staff member, so they go to church and they put the call out, you know, who do you know? And then you end up getting the feedback. You know, someone tags somebody on Facebook and it's, you know, your best friend's cousin's hairdresser's, you know, dog cleaner. And they're looking for a job, you know. There's a reason why they don't have a job. They don't deserve one. Like, if that's the process of finding a staff member, you're going to get caught out. My way is way slower, okay? So we should be slow to hire and quick to fire. We've got to slow down the front end of our recruitment process. Put them through a 3-step process. And it starts at the ad. The ad online, or when you're going to advertise the job, needs to be a deselection. It needs to be so scary that you're looking for such a good quality person that the lame ones need not apply. Okay, so it starts there. Then you put them through an interview. Then you put them through a second interview. Then you take them for coffee or take them for lunch. That's when they let their guard down and you get to find out the true character of the person. Okay, you know, you do those 3-step processes and then you bring them in for a trial day or a trial week where you pay them, but you have the right to let them go if they can't do the job. Put them through that process and you'll have a much higher rate of success than you will just reading a CV, having a chat with someone and them saying to you, I'm really, really good at being an electrician. I'm really, really good at whatever it is you're hiring for. And then you hire them based on that. Like, that will end in tears 50% of the time. You put them through enough process and the best people will pop out at the top and you'll be able to manage that much better than if you just take who comes up. Tom, hope that's valuable. Paul, what's our second question?
Jeremy Bell asks, I know what the Bible says about borrowing money, But if you need to for an overdraft or to take the next step to get bigger contracts, would that be okay? Or should we just keep going and save bit by bit to get bigger?
Jeremy Bell, SEQ Cleaning, building quite a big and significant cleaning company, doing airports and big buildings and high-rise window cleaning and all this sort of stuff. So great to have your question here, Jeremy. So we've answered this one about debt before, but I want to do it again because it's, I think it's a hot topic. We have some new, people consuming these videos now that maybe didn't catch that one, maybe week 3 or 4 that we did these. And it's kind of been asked in a slightly different way. So I want to answer it again. See, I'm not anti-debt, okay? That's something to make very, very clear. I think personally, I'm anti-debt, okay? So as a person, I never want to have any debt, okay? But as a company, see, because the foundation from the Bible is the borrower is slave to the lender, okay? That doesn't mean it's sinful. That just means you've got to understand that as the borrower, you are slave to the lender. The lender has, some rights over you in the way that you conduct yourself because they've given you money. So it doesn't necessarily mean, it's certainly not an evil thing. It just may not always be smart. But I never want to have any personal debt. If my company has debt, that's a little bit different because that's one hand removed from me. If there's a problem with my company, that's not a problem with me. That's the whole purpose of having a limited liability business, okay, is that it's not you, they're separate. So you can have that. The two options that you mentioned were, do I do it organically and grow slowly over time, or do I borrow and fast track the process? I think as long as you've got a proven model, as long as you've got a way of buying customers profitably, as long as you've got a team that you can grow, as long as you've got a way to find new staff, as long as you're in place ready to expand quickly, meaning that there is work out there, that you could get it, that you've got the staff to do the job, like that's in place, then I would say go for it. I think the trap is when you're trying to raise money because you're not profitable on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, okay? Then all you're doing is borrowing money to plug a hole in a leaky bucket. Well, the problem with borrowing money into a leaky bucket is you've still got a leaky bucket. So rather than borrow money, I'd be spending my time filling the little holes, making sure that I was profitable and then funding it so that it can grow. So I never want to be funding expenses. I never want to be funding losses to get me through. If I'm borrowing money for that, then I'm on dangerous ground. But if I'm borrowing money to scale quickly, that's a smart way to go, because then with the increased business, you can pay for it to come back and you can pay down that loan and get it back in, and now you've got a bigger business and you're making the full profit, okay? So I'm not anti-debt. I think debt can be used very, very wisely. Never want to have any personal debt, never want to have credit cards, store cards, leases, stuff like that in my own name, just because I never want to be a slave to the lender. But in a business context, both ways will work. I also think that there are some other things to throw in there to think about. If somebody watching actually has a problem with debt, like they just use debt and they just love being in debt, then I would never recommend it, because that's a systemic problem. So I'd be thinking through that stuff. Like, don't do it if you have a problem with debt, okay? But if you don't have a problem, like some people have a tenacity to be able to take a bigger risk. And in business, we're all taking risks. Some people have a propensity for bigger ones. So if you have that, if you've got that inbuilt to you where you've got that tenacity to do it, go borrow the money, because you'll back yourself enough to build the business to pay it back. And now you've got a better business, okay? But that's a little bit of a one-on-one decision that you've got to make. I certainly wouldn't shy away from borrowing if I needed to. And that's just the way I view it. I'm not shy of debt. I certainly wouldn't use it, though, to be fixing a problem that needs to be addressed. I'd be using it to scale and scale only. Jeremy, very solid question. All right, let's go to Word of the Week. So this week I want to go almost to the start of the Bible. We're going to go to Genesis 4. And, one of the things that sets us apart as believers is that we honor the Lord with our money, okay? We honor the Lord with the things that He blesses us with, okay? We first of all need to acknowledge that every good thing that we have comes from God. I know we work hard, we bring our smarts and our diligence, but the best baseline is every good thing we have comes from God, because then we don't develop bragging rights, we don't develop an ego, we don't get pride. It's better just to think that every good thing comes from the Lord, and that way we keep ourselves as a person under authority. So going back to Genesis 4, this is a story of Cain and Abel. So Adam and Eve hook up, and they have a couple of children, one called Cain, one called Abel. And, this is an interesting part of the cycle because we're going right back to the beginning here. And so I'll read a bit of a precursor, Genesis 4, sort of 3 through to 6, and then we'll pick up on the last bit. And I kind of want to unpack that in a business setting. So Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. So right there, there's quite a distinction between these two brothers, okay? Cain had flocks, Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. So one was growing veggies, one was growing cattle, okay? That's a nice way to put it. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord, and Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the flock. So we get a bit of insight here as to what God likes and how he looks upon how we steward what we've got. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. Okay, so Abel kept flocks. God looked with favor upon Abel bringing fat portions. But on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was angry and downcast. So here we've got Abel bringing fat portions, Cain bringing some veggies as an offering, some lettuce leaves and a few carrots and a cucumber or whatever as an offering. And the Lord clearly says, Abel, you're doing well, Cain, not so much. And Cain, right there, we get an insight into his character. Because God didn't look favorably, he wasn't prepared to give enough of himself for God to look favorably. He was angry and downcast. That shows you that he didn't really want to honor the Lord with what he brought, because when it wasn't enough, he was downcast because he didn't want to give anymore. And then catch what God says. Then the Lord says to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. Okay? So what's the sin? It's this mammon. It's this concept of it's mine, I deserve it, I need to build up my treasures here on earth. It's all about me. Okay? It's the desire for the stuff and the status and the things. Okay? Whereas when we have an offering where we take our very best and we put that as an offering and we say, Lord, that was available for you, that gets looked upon with favor. Okay, so that's what Abel did. Cain didn't. Cain said, sin is crouching at your door. Catch that. That's a word from God. That's a warning. God is saying, if you don't go and address the fact that you're downcast because you're not being a phenomenal steward of what you've got, if you don't address that, sin is going to take over you. You need to learn to rule over it. Rule over this mammon. Rule over this power where you want to consume. So that's them. Let's take this into a modern day context. We live in a world where, it's all about Bentleys and watches and things and tags and jets and all this sort of stuff and Instagram posts and how wealthy we are or whatever. We live in that world. And so it's very easy to get dragged that way. Whereas the reality is when we are blessed with resources, money, staff, opportunities, business, whatever, we need to ascertain how do we bring our very best of that and put it at the altar, which is not an altar anymore. It's just making it available for the kingdom. It's just saying, I want to give this bit back to advance your government on earth, God. Like, what are you bringing to the table, okay? Because, if it's not enough, do you get downcast? Or are you bringing something that God would say, you are excellent there? You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much. And then apply the favor that he talks about. So looking at your life now, it doesn't matter. This isn't about how much money you've got. This is about looking at how you're stewarding the bit that you've got today. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's a little bit, medium bit, a lot. How are you stewarding what you've got today? What are you bringing and making available to the kingdom so that the God's government can advance? That's the question you want to be asking yourself. Are you like Abel, where God would say, well done? Are you like Cain, where God would say, you know what? You need to really address that because sin might be crouching at your door and you need to rule over it. A little bit heavy for the first one back, but I wanted to get in there. That's something that I'm really enjoying at the moment. I'm really studying this defeating mammon. I might do something a little bit more on that next week. But hopefully that was practical for you. Listen, share the show, tag a friend. Let's get the momentum happening again. Get this out to so many people. And I'm going to be putting these out all of the time. And, they may look a little bit differently. We may play with Facebook Live and do them a little bit differently, a bit more raw and edgy a few times in the next few weeks just to have a bit of fun with that. But by the way, are you on Snapchat? Are you on Snapchat? If you're not, don't worry. But if you are, let me just link up my Snapchat handle here and you can come and say g'day. Awesome. Come and say g'day to me on Snapchat. I'm putting out some stuff there. Some of it's business-like. Some of it's just, just life in general, some fun stuff, some photos, me working out with a big red face because I've been pushing too hard and all that sort of stuff. But that's fun. Come and find me on Snapchat. Hope that was valuable for you. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.